98% of people lose the game of reality. Only 2% of people ever actually elevate the quality of their lives to the degree that their manifestations are actually realized. And the unfortunate truth is that there are winners and there are losers. And chances are, if you're not in that 2% category yet, you've been playing the game of reality backwards. And that's exactly why you're stuck in these cycles of low vibrational frequencies where you have fears, imposter syndrome, self-sabotaging patterns, negative mental programming, limiting beliefs, a lack of confidence, and everything else that is interrupting you from having that breakthrough that you've been searching for. You see, society taught you that you have to fight for your place under the sun, that you have to prove your worth to the world. Meanwhile, the people that win know that playing by society's rules is the very thing that leads 90% of people to lose the game entirely. And this is done intentionally. There are literal secret societies protecting this wisdom because if you knew it, you would be impossible to control. Now, the truth is, this knowledge is available, but it is difficult to find because the lips of wisdom are sealed except to the ears of understanding. Now, if you have an ear for understanding and a mind that seeks truth, you too can force reality into submission by uncovering how to win in this dimension. And although the rabbit hole does go very deep, you don't need to spend 15 years and read close to 1,000 books like I did if you just watch this video, because I've narrowed it down and simplified it to 3 simple truths. If you knew these 3 layers, these 3 perspective shifts, you would have no problems breaking through to your highest levels. And the thing is, no one else in the world is going to simplify it to the degree that I'm about to, because most people, if you watch their videos or read their books, they stand on their pedestal of enlightenment like they have some secret that you can't possibly know, and until you listen to them, then you'll get the breakthrough. But that's not the case. I don't gatekeep any of this stuff because you already know this information. I'm not here to teach you anything new. I'm simply here to remind you of who you already are. So pay attention and get ready to take some notes, because once this clicks, everything changes. And if you're serious about taking control over your universe, then I suggest you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because this is a synchronicity. The fact that you landed on my channel right now means that you're primed and ready for that next breakthrough. Or don't subscribe. Like, I really don't care if you like me personally, and I really don't care because if you don't subscribe, that probably just means that you're still in a low vibrational frequency and you're not ready to receive this information. So click off this video if that is you, because I'm only interested in talking to the conscious souls who are equally intentional about their financial success as they are about their spiritual evolution. Everything is connected. Now, if you are still watching, that means you're one of the real ones. And my friend, the future is going to be very generous and kind to you, because the most important truth of all, and really the first perspective shift of this video, is on importance. Funny enough, because principles 2 and 3 are contingent upon you understanding the energetic dynamics of importance. Anytime you desperately desire something, you most certainly will not get it. Why? Because you assign a tremendous amount of significance to the thing that you want. Now, I want you to think about this. Reality is like a hot girl. For all my guys out there, you've probably met a girl at some point in your journey that was more attractive than you've ever been with, or that was more exciting than you've ever interacted with before. And you put her on a pedestal. You made her out to be this perfect human being. You projected qualities and characteristics onto her that she didn't really have, but because you were so infatuated, because you were so in love, you assigned a ton of importance to her. And guess what happened? The relationship deteriorates. It crumbles because you were out of balance. You see, anytime you desperately desire something, you push the things you want away. You create space. Because let's say if we go back to the hot girl example, point A, you've never been with that kind of person, and then you all of a sudden you meet them, you're like, oh my gosh, best thing ever. And you treat them and put them on a pedestal. By the way, they don't actually like that. As much as they say they do, they don't actually like that. But you want to go from point A to point B, where you get the girl, you go on a date, maybe you marry her, you want a future wife. But anytime you assign a tremendous amount of importance, it creates space between where you are now, space and time. You delay the reception and the manifestation of you receiving what it is that you want in the first place. And because you assigned so much importance to it, you made it this big deal, you thought about it, you ruminated on how it would feel to take her on that first date, all of a sudden, you show up incongruent in conversations, you get nervous, you're overreactive to all of her little micro expressions, And the second that it looks like she's losing even a little bit of interest, you start to panic. And thus, she gets the ick towards you. Now, I want you to understand that whenever you create importance around your goals, the universe gets the ick towards you. Because the universe operates on energy. Energy is everything. And so whenever you make something very important, you are turning it into this thing where you can't possibly get it because there is a vibrational mismatch. The frequency that you are radiating is so rooted in the fact that you don't have the thing that you want, whether it's a goal income, whether it's a specific type of partner, and the universe will push it away. And what you feared the most becomes your reality, because the mental projection that you're placing out into the world is that this thing is so different and it's so new and it's something that you haven't experienced before, and the universe doesn't respond well. It doesn't respond at all whenever you are in that kind of energy. That is why being desperate for your manifestations and having to write them down on a piece of paper and breaking out your sacred journal and doing this whole ritual around trying to like manifest more money or more business success, all these different things aren't actually optimal. They don't work. Why? Because you're making it important. It's unfamiliar to you. Your nervous system hasn't adjusted to the fact that you are an infinite creator. You have the frequency of God in you. And because you have the frequency of God in you and you are an infinite creator, all of your biggest, highest abundance that you are trying to call in is very easy to acquire. But again, what does society teach you? Society teaches you that reality and life is a battlefield. You have to fight for your place. And prove your worth. That is how most of society operates. But the people, the 2% that actually get to that next level, understand that because when you have a frequency of certainty, reality responds to that more powerfully than any other emotion that you have. Because if you know that the thing that you desire is yours already, you are open to the outcome. You don't care how it shows up because you know at some point it is going to come into your experience. So whenever you desire something and you're intentional about receiving it, that is fine. But the thing is, if you are attached to it, meaning that whether or not you receive it determines how you feel and think about yourself. Anytime you are attached, you won't get it. And so you remain frustrated. The ultimate truth here is that you have to remain detached. You have to remain detached from the outcome. Because anytime you place your importance on the reception of your goal, you most certainly will not get it because you are a vibrational mismatch for it. What I want you to do here, and really what this entire principle is calling you to do, is to normalize your goals. Normalize them, make them familiar. Because you think, let's say you want to hit a certain level of income. You think that making 100K per month is a big deal. You think that making 50K per month is a big deal. Some of you think that making 10K per month is a big deal. As a matter of fact, there was a comment on one of my last videos where someone was talking about, oh, well, you work with 6, 7, and 8-figure entrepreneurs, and I'm not even close to any of that. So like these videos feel less relatable because it feels like you're not talking to me. And that is someone who is, bless their heart, bless their soul. And I mean this with complete love, but that is someone who is just stuck in such a low vibrational frequency and doesn't understand the fact that there are infinite possibilities. And there is a space in your timeline, there is an alternate dimension where that person that is in a low vibrational frequency is easily making 100K per month, but they can't see it. And so their vibrational frequency is not matched to that reality because they are stuck in low vibrational frequencies. So if you're that person watching this video, pay attention, because this is what the universe is calling you to do. If you are serious and intentional about getting to that next level, you have to normalize your goals. You have to make it feel like it's not a big deal, because it's really not. Not a big deal. Take it off the pedestal. And I'll tell you this even from personal experience. I used to be like that. I used to think that making 10K per month, oh my gosh, was such a big deal, until I finally did it and I realized, oh my gosh, this isn't anything. This is actually very small, because I started to make that much money, and then I started to meet people that were making 50K per month, and I started to meet people that were making $1 million per month, and then I started to meet people that were doing 8 figures and above. And every single level of transcendence and every single spiral upward is a continual reminder to me that these goals are not a big deal, because you think that there's not that many people doing it. And really the only reason you feel like that is because maybe you didn't grow up around rich people. Maybe society told you that, oh my gosh, we're in a recession and money is less valuable, inflation, there's all these global conflicts going on, you need to be focused on all of those things. Fuck all that, to be quite honest. Because the truth is, there is someone out there, there are many different people out there that are receiving your manifestations, the thing that you're trying to call in, the success, the abundance, and the confidence that you are trying to manifest, and they're less talented than you, they're not as intelligent than you, they're not as genuine souls as you are, and they're probably not even good people. And yet they're the ones that are receiving all of the abundance. Why? Because on some level, the universe doesn't reward you for being a nice and a good person, it rewards confidence and certainty. And it rewards someone who understands and realizes the fact that all of the desires that you have are unimportant. They're not a big deal. Like, you think making 100K per month, 50K per month is a big deal, and we live in an infinitely expanding universe that is expanding at every single moment exponentially, and you're just one person out of 9 billion people. And so you think that your problems and your goals and your challenges are difficult to overcome because you make them important. And so there's a version of importance where you place your goals on a pedestal, but there's also a version of importance where you make your current challenges and your current circumstances a way bigger deal than they actually are. And what this is evidence of is that you don't trust yourself to tune into this spiritual and mental dimension to force reality and twist reality and bend reality to your will. And that's because you haven't fully exercised your sovereignty as a being. The 2% of people that win understand that they can create anything, and that all it takes is a couple shifts in perspective to understand that at any given moment you have all of the resources within you right now to call in your next level, to facilitate a breakthrough. It's not that far away, it really isn't. And so as you become more accustomed to this frequency of being able to do whatever you want on your own terms, and you don't make your goals a big deal, you turn it into getting mail from the mailbox. You make your goals as simple as getting mail from the mailbox. When you go and get your letters and your mail and the Amazon packages and whatnot, do you have to pump your state in order to put your key inside the box and open it and just get your mail? Are you really all that frustrated or disgruntled if you open your letterbox and there's nothing in it? No, you don't care, because you know at some point, like let's say you ordered a package on Amazon and it didn't come today, you know it's gonna come tomorrow, the next day, or whatever. And if it doesn't come at all, you can talk to Amazon and get a refund or whatever. So you don't really care that much, because you know at some point you're going to get some kind of confirmation of like what's going on. The thing is, when you make your goals a big deal and you don't treat it as if you're getting mail from the mailbox, you are attached to the outcome. And whenever you are attached to the outcome, you will certainly push it away. And the reason I emphasize this point so much is because, again, you think that making all this money is a big deal, but once you get there, you realize it's just natural and normal. So you might have a big run up, you might have an incredible wave of good fortune that enters into your experience. And because it's not familiar to you, you make it this big deal, and the universe goes, oh, this person isn't actually accustomed to this. Their nervous system isn't adjusted to the fact that they live in a rich, abundant reality. And guess what? The wave departs from you. Anytime you treat your goals like it's this thing that you don't commonly experience, what you're energetically communicating to the universe is that this experience isn't a vibrational match. So for many of you that have experienced these big run-ups, because a lot of my clients, sporadic highs and lows, what happens is you have this high and you get into this next level, but you weren't prepared to receive it. Your nervous system, your energetic frequency wasn't aligned to that reality of it being natural and normal to you, because your entire experience of your own universe is a mental projection of what you think and feel to be true. And so you struggled so hard to create this breakthrough, and then you get it, and then you sabotage it. Because importance was high. Ultimately, the entire perspective of this principle is to reduce importance. Just relax. Stop making things bigger than they actually are, because it's really not that big of a deal. You take reality way too seriously. That really is the case. And anytime you are too serious, you become rigid. You start expecting. You begin expecting your manifestations to arrive in a certain time frame, or through a certain avenue, or through a certain project that you're specifically working on. And what this does is it cuts you off from all of the infinite possibilities that you do have on your path. And oftentimes, whenever you do have moments of uncertainty, I talked about this in one of my last videos where I talked about uncertainty being a gift. It's actually a gift. If you ever find yourself in uncertain moments where you're not sure where your manifestations are going to come from, you're uncertain about how you're going to get to that next level, that's actually a gift. It's a gift for multiple reasons. First off, it is the universe rattling you out of these experiences of creating high importance, because at all moments, like, you can be the most ascended master and you'll still have high importance that comes up. This certainly happens to me, but because I'm such a spiritual master, I can almost like coach myself in real time and recognize that, oh yeah, this isn't a big deal. This is common. This is natural to me. The fact that I win at the highest levels is common and natural to me. I expect myself to win. And even if I'm not winning, quote unquote, I'm good. I don't care. I'm unrattleable because I don't take reality seriously. For me, it's a game. And the people that win at the highest levels understand that. Reality and society itself, like the mainstream reality that most people are plugged into, what do? They take everything too seriously. Everything is a battle. We're fighting for our survival. And if you just look around, you go outside and you touch grass, you go talk to your neighbor, and you just go interact with cool people, people that have a lot of love, people that have expansive hearts. It's like, we actually live in a tremendously fruitful and abundant universe. And so in order for you to transition into that version of reality, you have to reduce importance around the goals that you have for yourself, and allow for the ideas, the strategies, the downloads, the wisdom, the executions to come online naturally, instead of trying to force your way into reality. In truth, you don't force reality into submission, which is, if you go to the top of this page, if you look at the iPad here, I wrote force in quotation marks because you don't actually force reality to do anything. You align so precisely that the version of abundance that is meant for you naturally starts to show up. In fact, you don't fight with reality at all. You let everything come to you. That's what being in a powerful frequency means. It means that you don't have to do anything outside of yourself. You don't have to do anything that society deems as normal. You walk your own path. And because you are calling your own shots and making your own rules for your own life, you become the authority over your own experience and over your own existence. And it's like you literally pull opportunities and resources and ideas and inspirations from the fabrics of the matrix itself. And those, when they're coming from the clarity and the truth of your own soul's path, unlock all of the abundance that you desire. It's all an energetic game. And really, this is even why entrepreneurship, all the entrepreneurs that are watching this, or anybody that's in anything business related where you get paid based upon your effort, anything like sales, anything like even e-com or trading, or entrepreneur, like if you're running a business in and of itself, you are the people that are going to more readily understand this, because you've already been uncovered to the fact that you can work extremely hard in order to get to that next level and nothing works. Because there are unconscious and subconscious resistances that are preventing you from just showing up naturally and powerfully and authentically, that are getting in the way of you being able to build the appropriate team or trade effectively if you're trading on the stock market or on crypto or in the futures market, or to be able to sell effectively. Because in your reality, every little experience that comes into your field is a reflection of who you are. So if you're in sales, for example, and you're running into these moments where like it's hard to close people, that's because you're energetically misaligned. And especially when it comes to sales, sales is applied psychology, but it's also applied spirituality. Entrepreneurship is applied spirituality, meaning that you can have the perfect words to say, you can have the exact perfect script in order to close someone, but it doesn't work effectively if you are vibrationally mismatched. And what this, and you can even, this is even supported by science, by the way. This isn't me just talking like some spiritual fairy in the wind. This is even supported by studies of behavioral psychology. In behavioral psychology, when it comes to communication, nonverbal communication is more powerful than verbal communication. meaning that it's not the words you say specifically that determine outcomes out of dynamics with other people. It's your nonverbal communication, it's your tonality, it's your voice, it is your posture, it's the aura that you radiate in every single moment. Because when you have that, when you have the nonverbal communication nailed down, the verbal communication naturally sorts itself out. And this is why you'll see people that are incredible speakers, people that are massively confident. It's like they're not even trying to say anything perfectly, and yet they're the ones setting the trend. It's like they're little jokes that make them them. It's a little witty humor that is unique to them specifically. And even within my own reality, like the things that I'm talking about, the conscious entrepreneurs, the conscious creators, the conscious economy, those are specific downloads that I had that actually don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. But for the people that do align with my frequency and the kind of reality that I'm cultivating, it makes perfect sense. Because if you look around the world, this is the frequency that people are being more called into. It's the elevation of the collective consciousness where there are more aware beings, where there are people that are more rooted in the spiritual, energetic nature of this universe. And those are the people that are going to be the dominant leaders in the world going forward. It's people that are equally spiritual and evolved and deeply conscious, who bring that energy into traditionally unconscious spaces like business, like entrepreneurship, and use the heavy lifting of their spiritual sovereignty to manifest incredible results and to create businesses that are rooted in truth. That is why people gravitate towards either working with me, because they feel the truth of that. I'm not trying to perform this. I don't care. Like, I literally don't care if you like this or not. But because I am in such an unbothered and unperturbed frequency, the confidence comes through. And really, this is all a construct of low importance, which brings us to the next component of this. And it's because when you place your goals on a pedestal, when you place who you think you need to be on a pedestal, you prevent yourself from unlocking that next dimension where reality flows to you. It's kind of like if you ever played, I don't know about you guys, but I play Zelda. My two favorite games are Legend of Zelda and Pokemon, right? Spoiler alert, I'm a big nerd. Evidently, a lot of you are too. You kind of have to be a nerd to get into all this stuff in the first place. But if you ever play like Legend of Zelda, if you ever do like, let's say Ocarina of Time and you do the Water Temple, the Water Temple is so ridiculously complicated and confusing that probably takes many hours, unless you're like one of these speed runners who can do it in like 2 minutes. But the Water Temple is incredibly confusing and frustrating. And so oftentimes you'll be going through the Water Temple and you get stuck at certain points in the dungeon. It's confusing, you're not sure what to do. And I always found the Water Temple to be a very symbolic experience of like how reality works in and of itself. It's very confusing if you're really attached. I need to finish this dungeon as quickly as possible. But when you just relax into the experience and like give yourself space to mess it up and get lost inside of the dungeon itself, eventually you beat it anyways. And reality is no different. It's going to get confusing and complicated at certain points. But the more you just relax and you just enjoy the experience, and all right, maybe you've tried your best to like make it work and it's not working, just go take a nap, go play a different game, go do something else, go hit the gym, go take a walk in the sun, then you come back to the game and you beat it effortlessly. You just kind of keep going through the dungeon, you keep going through, and you eventually get to the, I forget what's the name of the boss at the end, where you fight Shadow Link in the middle to get the long shot, but then to go to the boss and get the boss key and whatnot, you fight that amoeba thing. In any case, if you're attached to like having to beat the dungeon and you're out of flow with like it's a pain in the ass. It's just realize it's a pain in the ass. When you're out of flow with reality and you think reality is a pain in the ass, guess what? It becomes more of a pain in the ass. Just relax. Don't take it too serious. It's all a game. And again, the people that win at that top level realize that it's all a game. Just playing with reality. Turn it into an infinite sandbox. Why is that the case? Principle number 2 is permission. And specifically, you give yourself the permission to receive. And also, to not be perfect. And I can't stress this and emphasize this enough, the not be perfect. Because what you'll find in this whole, I know a lot of speakers, I've collaborated with a lot of people, and I've read many different books. And oftentimes, the more you read books, if you ever had this experience before where it's like you've read all the books and you still haven't been able to manifest precisely and accurately. I was actually talking to someone recently a potential prospect. Actually, I think they're supposed to talk to one of my team leaders at some point soon, I believe. But in any case, I was talking to this person, and the reason that they gravitated towards my content is because they've read all the books too, they've been on this journey, they've done the deep work, and yet they still haven't manifested results. And by the way, typically people like that are my best clients, because if you've already done the work and you've already read the books, you already know what to do. And it's just about simplifying it to the degree that you naturally follow wherever your excitements take you, and to have that frequency of just alignment and clarity come online to the point where it's like your goals become the natural byproduct of who you are. It's a natural byproduct of who you are. If you ever wanted to have like a teaser of what it means or what it feels like to work with me, what I do is I nurture my clients to the degree that spiritual mastery and self-mastery are the dominant source of permission that they give themselves, permission to mess things up, permission to not be perfect, and then simply to execute well. Because 1 hour of aligned action is equal to 10 hours of performative action. When you are trying to perform this whole persona of needing to be a perfect person or needing to be high vibrational because you read it in a book, but you don't actually know how to be the best version of you, well, it interrupts your frequency of most aligned experiences that come into your reality that give you the foundation for more. And so in a sense, I'm not teaching you anything new. I'm simply reminding you of the truth that you've known the entire time, which is to not take life too seriously, to not take your goals too seriously, and simply follow your path. And when you do that on a long enough time horizon, exceptional results become the inevitable outcome. If you look at like Sean Johnson, one of my clients, he's a client alumni and a very good friend. Shout out Sean. Sean made $72,000 in the first month of working with me because I helped him uncover what are the subconscious blockages that are getting in the way of him communicating powerfully to his clients. Same thing with Kaizen Asiudu. A lot of you know Kaizen because he does a lot of political commentating. He went from 0 to 100K in 4 months, and then later compounded that same frequency of alignment and clarity and consciousness to bring his genius and his truths to something as polarizing and controversial as the political space. And he did it so well that even Elon Musk was retweeting him on Twitter. And now he's been on Piers Morgan, he's been on all different kinds of debates, and he has almost 1 million followers on Instagram, another 1 million followers on Twitter. And that is the result of being a reality bending entity. They force reality into submission to conform to what their idea is, and that's why they win at the highest levels. And I have a myriad of other client results. You can find their success stories somewhere on the links on my channel. But ultimately, that is rooted in number one, reducing importance, and number two, giving themselves permission to be fully you, fully themselves. Because when you give yourself permission to receive, reality corresponds to that frequency. And that really is the truth here, is that in order for you to win at the highest levels, you have to embody the identity of a winner. All of this is rooted in the embodiment of the identity of a winner. And when you embody the identity of a winner, no amount of failure knocks you off balance. You see, most of you think that in order for you to get to that next level, you have to overcome resistance and you have to do all this deeper work, and that may be true if that's necessary for you. But ultimately, all of the work that you do on yourself is simply a permission slip. All of the strategies, the techniques, the modalities that facilitate deeper self-mastery, all it is doing for you is giving you a permission slip to be what? Not perfect, which in other words means to be unapologetically you. Because when you're unapologetically you, reality co-responds. It begins aligning and corresponding to that frequency that you're putting out. And what you'll find is your specific experience of your universe starts to match and mold to this version of you. And this is the version of you that you haven't been up until this point. And all the mantras and techniques that you do is simply a permission slip to align you more with the frequency of you just being yourself. And when you are 100% yourself and you identify as a winner, you view every little experience, every piece of resistance, every little setback as evidence that you are rising in your frequency. Well, guess what? That mental projection places you into an experience of reality where you experience more and more and more good fortune. That is the secret to bending reality in the first place. It's starting to identify with the version of you that wins at the highest levels. And so when you identify with that version of yourself, you don't care what happens in the short term. In fact, you begin taking a long-term perspective. That's where you hear these things of like, delayed gratification, or you need to be patient with your success. You'll just know that to be true, and you'll naturally have patience because you understand that whatever happens in the short term, it's not a big deal, because you're neutral to reality. You're neutral to the swings of the pendulum, which is the principle of rhythm, which comes from the Kabbalah, and which is the Hermetic philosophy of, doesn't matter if the pendulum swings to the left or it swings to the right, you are neutral. And because you're in a neutral frequency, reality corresponds and bends to you simply being yourself. And when you are yourself in your most powerful energetic state, reality brings to you all the ideas, the resources, the circumstances, the opportunities, the networks, the connections, everything that you need to support you in the cultivation of your highest reality. And again, the 2% of people that know this information and know that their reality is doing the heavy lifting for them keep winning. Why? Because to them, reality is one big continuous experimentation with manifestation. It's not this resistance-riddled thing where every little setback is evidence that they are doing something wrong or that they're not good enough, because they give themselves permission to not be perfect. You're not perfect now, and you never will be, which is why this whole conversation, even about get to higher states, like you need to be more powerful in your frequency, is actually dichotomously false in a sense. In some version, it is true, because the higher your frequency, the more you bend reality, the more penetrative, the more confident you are, the more clear you are in what it is that you want. But paradoxically, you don't need to be in a higher vibration right now. You don't really need to be in a higher vibration. You just need to be you. And in fact, trying to get the higher states of energy, trying to get the higher states of frequency actually creates importance around you needing to show up in a certain type of way, which actually pushes the things you want out of your experience of reality. It's very energetic and it's very paradoxical, but once you hit that sweet spot of showing up intentionally while being carefree at the same time, and you simply give yourself permission to live out your reality and to live out your destiny too, and in whatever fashion it comes up with, all the resistances and all the setback, reality sorts itself out. It reorganizes around this new identity of you winning at the highest levels, and what you expect to happen tends to happen more. You expect good things to happen. You expect good fortune to be your default experience of reality, and guess what? Things naturally start to sort itself out. I want you to think about your universe as if you were like a baby playing with blocks. If you ever see a baby playing with blocks, it tries feverishly to put the square block into the round hole, but the square doesn't fit in the round hole. And the baby tries its hardest and it's frustrated and it starts to cry till it throws a temper tantrum and it gives up. That's how you're treating your reality. You're trying to force a square block into a round hole. When in truth, if the baby lacks cognitive development to like look around and learn and whatnot, but you're an adult, you're a sovereign soul, you're a conscious being. And so if it's not working through the round hole, just take a step back and gain some perspective. You have permission to do that. You have permission to like stop for a second and take analysis of like what's going on. And then you'll see, oh, there's a square hole next to the round hole. And you effortlessly place the correct block in the correct location. That's a natural metaphor of what your reality is going to look like when you simply embody permission. And so the embodiment of permission is twofold, meaning that you give yourself the permission to not be perfect, to make mistakes, to let resistance come up. But it's also the permission to receive what it is that you want. Because as we were talking about importance and in principle number one, when you make things really important, you make it this big deal. But by making it not a big deal, you actually open up your channels to receive more of what it is that you do want, because you give yourself permission to have. And I want you to write that down and remember that forever. Tattoo that on your forehead if you have to, your big forehead like me. Maybe you don't have a sick beard, but you do have a forehead, I'm assuming. Someone out there doesn't have a forehead. I don't know how you even watching this, If you're missing the top half of your head, I don't know, go see a doctor or something. I don't know what to tell you, but permission to have. Give yourself permission to have what it is that you desire. Because oftentimes there's a tremendous amount of guilt and shame that comes with winning if you think about it. Because in reality, we're taught that, if you play sports and whatnot, it's a zero-sum game. Meaning that, pause. Meaning that there are winners and losers, which is true on some level. But in the spiritual and mental game, it just is. Meaning that winning and losing is simply a state of being. And especially for entrepreneurs, it's like an entrepreneurial guilt, where it's like, because you're winning, that means someone else is losing. And because even like generational traumas that have been passed on to you, a lot of my clients have generational trauma about receiving more wealth, about receiving more riches. And it's because they were taught that money, you have to sacrifice for money, and if it's too good to be true, then it's not real. Like, I've actually done this at seminars before where I'm talking about generational traumas and programming that we all are instilled with. It's like these stereotypes that the pendulums of society want you to abide by so that you don't achieve your own freedom. And so, like I'll be in front of like hundreds of people, and I'll say, hey, finish the sentence, guys. Money doesn't grow on, everyone in the audience says, trees. A penny saved is a penny earned. Or if you look at even in biblical texts, right? It's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. And money is the root of all evil. And there's all of this rhetoric about how money is bad, and if you have a lot of it, you're greedy and evil. And then you look at like the social media warriors that are just like, the billionaires are the causes of all my problems and this and that. And so they have like a negative relationship with money, with specifically receiving money. Now let's be frank here, let's be honest. You're partly watching this video because you want more money. You want to manifest an income breakthrough. It's the truth. Everybody wants more money. Nobody wakes up on any specific day and goes, boy, I wish I was poor. I wish I was more poor today. I wish I had less money. And if that's you saying, oh, like, I don't care about money and I don't care about having more of it, then okay, if you're cool with like having less money, just send me whatever excess you have. Whatever extra money you have, I'm happy to take that off your hands. If it's such a burden to you, I'm more than willing to help you out here. Call me generous, call me self. I'm a philanthropist in that sense. Send me your money because you have too much of it. Okay. In a general sense, nobody's actually saying that. Everybody wants more money. Now, there is this conversation about sell your soul for money, all these different things. Nonsense. It's a bunch of nonsense, right? You having more money is a good thing. You being more powerful within your reality and being a powerful creator of the exceptional experiences that you are calling in, yeah, it's going to be unfair. It's going to be unfair to some degree, meaning that because you are winning, you start to have advantages you are going to have advantages because you are winning, advantages and outcomes that far exceed what average and mediocre people can accomplish. Have zero shame about this. And as spiritual as we are, spiritual as you and I are, we've read the books, we've done the immersions, we've contemplated the depths of our soul. And at the highest levels of spirituality, money is not a big deal. But ultimately, even in the physical dimension, as spiritual and 5D multidimensional as you are, you still live in the third dimension. And in the third dimension, there are winners and there are losers. And have zero shame about that. Mark yourself as one of the winners. Mark yourself as one of the chosen ones, because there's this really interesting thing that people do called spiritual bypassing. They lean on their spiritual enlightenment as if being spiritual is this thing that if you have a lot of money, it knocks you out of flow with that, and money is the root of all evil, and it's easier for the eye to get through the needle, the camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get in heaven. Get rid of all that. Those are all societal pendulums that are trying to interrupt you and your frequency of complete abundance. Because is it not possible for you to be equally spiritual as you are rich and successful? Of course it is. And as a matter of fact, if you grew up around those pendulums about like riches and money is evil and receiving success is bad and all these different things, you're taught that rich people are evil and greedy. But then you actually like meet some of them, and they're some of the most generous and selfless people that you'll ever actually meet. They're totally willing to give you opportunities and totally willing to help you and assist you and support you on your path if you are this confident, sovereign soul who's doing something different, who is doing something exceptional. And so it's really interesting that when you start to elevate into those next levels of complete abundance, because you've given yourself permission to rise into that level, and because you've made this entire thing of like playing this game of reality not important, it's not a big deal, you start bending reality to your will and elevating the quality of your life. And guess what? You start to meet other people that are doing the exact same thing. And oftentimes the richest people are actually the most spiritual. They're the most spiritual because even this entire game of entrepreneurship, even the entire experience of creating something in the spiritual and mental dimension, and then executing it in the physical on a long enough time frame for you to garner enough resources to be able to live an exceptional quality of life is a very, very spiritually challenging thing to do. It's not just something that you wake up one day and all of a sudden you like magic wand, all of a sudden everything's perfect the next day. No. It's going to require you to dig deep and to deepen your self-mastery. And that entire process of facilitating that depth within your own soul is not as difficult and arduous as pendulums make it out to be. The battlefield isn't out there in the physical dimension, the battle is within yourself. And when you cease that battle within yourself, the ever existential battle of trying to balance between being a good person and not, and being greedy, I don't want to be perceived as greedy, I don't want to be perceived as selfish, all these different things. And you just give yourself permission to be 100% you. Who gives a fuck about what people think about you? You know, oftentimes, like one of the things that people come to me is for this entire thing of the fear of being seen. Most people are so afraid of being seen they have limiting beliefs around who they are and what they're able to accomplish that they hide before they ever have a chance to fully embrace their power. They don't ever get to a point in reality where they have direct reflection and evidence of the infinite spontaneity and possibility that they have to create an exceptional reality, and they keep themselves in low vibrational frequencies because they're so afraid of what people think and say about them. That is the worst pendulum. That's, of all the pendulums of society that have been imposed upon you, the worst one has been living for other people's approval. Whenever you seek other people's approval and you live for the acceptance of society itself, or the acceptance of what your parents think, or the acceptance of what the schools taught you, that is exactly the thing that interrupts your highest frequency of abundance. Because society doesn't want you to win at the highest level. Society is designed to prevent you from failing as much as possible. Think about society as a whole. It's like an army convoy. An army convoy moving through battle moves at the pace of the slowest unit, which is like the tanks or the people that are on foot. And so the entire thing moves to accommodate for the lowest common denominator. But you are not the lowest common denominator. You are an exceptional being. And with that, as an exceptional being, you get exceptional results. And my whole overarching point with this is to give yourself permission to embrace that reality and to really embrace the fact that you are a winner. Because the sooner you identify as yourself and give yourself permission to be a winner, reality reflects and corresponds to the frequency that you radiate out into the world. And what you'll find is you start to win. Step one, give your lower importance. Step two, give yourself permission. Step number three is you just literally start to win. Which brings us to perspective shift number three. Because in order for you to actually win in reality, it's like, I'm sure at this point in this whole conversation, because this is a conversation between me and you, I'm sure at this point in the conversation, you're like, okay, Jose, I get it. I'm going to treat my goals as if I'm getting mail from the mailbox. And I give myself permission to receive. I give myself permission to be a mess if I need to, because the entire experience of rising in frequency is often a messy and chaotic experience, and that's cool. I'm open to that. I'm open to just being neutral with my reality. But then how do I actually do it? Where's the actual steps here? Don't worry, I am a man of pragmatism. And like I said before, this is going to be more simplistic than anything else you've ever seen, because while all these other people are talking about, I manifested my dream life in 30 days. Like, I'm thinking about this one creator in particular. There's this one guy. I actually have a very close friend that paid to be a part of his group just to see what it was. And the dude he's great. He's great. He's very popular. And then you find out where he got his money from. And he got his money from OnlyFans. His girlfriend or something does like OnlyFans, which is cool. By all means, get your bag, right? But if you're dishonest with your audience about how you manifested your money, so I'm not advocating for you guys to do OnlyFans. If you want to do OnlyFans, I'm not. Go talk to Dravko. Katana's my editor. Katana, throw up a picture of Dravko. If you want to do OnlyFans, talk to Dravko. He's one of my closest friends, but I ain't that guy. Because step number three, in a practical sense, we're taking all of this, like this spiritual conversation. You understand that you're an infinite creator. You understand you have the frequency of God in you, and you choose yourself. You are choosing yourself and marking yourself as one of the winners of reality because you have the permission to do so. And every single technique or modality for healing and meditating and manifestation, all these different things are simply permission slips to give you the space to embrace your highest potential, to embrace your highest possibility, and to actually experience it for real, with all the unfairness that comes with it, with all the judgment, all the theories, all the conspiracy theories that people are going to invent about you. I had this guy a few years ago, was I don't know what his deal was. Like, he was kind of psycho, but he was like, oh, you have daddy's money. You have daddy's money. Like, no, first off. And second off, even if I did have daddy's money, it's like, what does that matter? Just ask your dad for $1 million, right? If you want to manifest your next level, just ask your dad for $1 million. Come on, guys, just get it together. It's so much simpler. You don't have to force reality. Just ask your parents for money. I'm obviously joking here. I don't come from a rich family. Step number 3 is resourcefulness. And if you ever wanted to understand what manifestational, spiritually aligned energy, high vibrational energy looks like in reality, is you get extremely resourceful, meaning that being resourceful means that you exercise all possibilities, all angles, all opportunities to create your best work in what it is that you do, and you call in the right paths that unlock your highest dimension. That's what it looks like to be a multidimensional being in the third dimensional experience. And this is one of those points where a lot of the people that are very spiritual, and I'm sure you're probably very spiritual, you're the spiritual fairy meditating all day with the crystal ceremony and the meditation and the sage and the vegan sandals, all those different things. Cool, whatever. Like, I make, it's funny, I like talk shit about crystal people, and I have like hundreds of dollars worth of crystals on my little desk back there. So I'm just kind of being an asshole, right? Not for everyone, guys, not for everyone. But in any case here, it's like a lot of times spiritual people are so passive with reality, and they stand on their pedestal of enlightenment like, oh, it's all just going to come to me, which is true. And also, the universe works in such a manner that in order for you to receive what it is that you want, you have to give something. You get what you give. And this is why service to humanity, doing something entrepreneurial, creating a business, is a very spiritual experience, because you're taking your ideas from the spiritual and mental dimension, executing them on the physical, and articulating your products and services in a way that are valuable to the world. Because business is really just a value exchange. And the more value you exchange with the world, the more money you will make. And so in order for you to get what you desire, which is more money, which is more expansiveness, which is more confidence, all these different things, you need to give more. And that starts with resourcefulness. You need to think outside the box. You need to cancel out the old frequencies of reality that used to keep you in low vibrational frequencies of stagnation, procrastination, self-sabotage, negative mental patterns, a lack of confidence, fears, everything else that is emblematic and symbolic of a low vibrational frequency. You simply start to think differently. Because in order for you to get to that next level, you have to think and feel from the version of yourself who is already at the next level. You're not going to solve your problems on the level that you mentally created them right now. Because the version of you that is abundant, successful, rich, confident, well-networked, well-resourced in every possible capacity is incredibly resourceful. Meaning that even if you experience challenges, even if you experience adversity, even if you experience setbacks, you get very resourceful. As a matter of fact, you take those setbacks and challenges and resistances as not evidence that you're doing something wrong, but evidence as you are rising in your frequency. It's giving you an opportunity to not only observe your own growth, but to practice the art of resourcefulness. Because again, just like the baby who was trying to jam a square block into a round hole, the baby was not being resourceful and not realizing that there is a square hole right next to it that it can effortlessly place the correct block in the correct location. But as that baby becomes more smart, more intentional, it becomes more, the baby gets older and it just starts to learn. That's what learning is. You're getting resourceful with how you solve your problems within reality. Said differently, let's say you were gonna break into my house and you wanted to break You wanted to get in and steal all my shit, right? If you're an unresourceful person, you would only see 2 entry points, the front door and the back door. But if you were a resourceful person, because you are a reality bending entity and your goal is to break into my house and steal all my shit, there's not 2 entry points, there's many access points, all the different windows, the windows on the first floor, the windows on the second floor, the windows on the third floor. There's many different access points for you to get into my house and steal all my shit, which is, don't break into my house, guys. But ultimately, that is how a reality bending entity thinks about their success, their manifestations, and the high quality outcomes that they're looking to call into their reality. They recognize that the goal itself is not a big deal. Check off the box. They recognize number 2 is that I identify as someone who is not only extremely spiritual, but wins at the highest levels in physical reality. Checked box number 2. Number 3 is they exercise all possibilities and all opportunities to create that reality. Check box number 3. If you check off all these boxes, there is literally no way you fail. Failure is non-existent for the person who practices resourcefulness. Because what this means, even from like a solving your problems standpoint, because that's really all you're looking to do here. If you lower importance, really all it is, it's just an equation. It's an equation. You have a problem, not enough money, not enough success, etc. And so the solution is figure out a way to get there. Figure out a way to exchange value with the world in a way that positively supports you in the manifestation of your desires. And the thing is, these are the types of people, the conscious souls who are able to embody this perspective are going to absolutely dominate the unconscious world, because the unconscious world, the forgetful souls engage in business. Like, you know, I live in Miami. There's a lot of people that think about business like this. They're thinking about how they can cut corners and how they can like fuck people over. Excuse my French here. They're thinking about how they can do the least amount possible in order to get the biggest amount of gain. And so a lot of people are here like wannabe pseudo entrepreneurs that don't actually know what they're doing, and they're trying to create these like win overnight businesses. But the truth is, the conscious souls who engage in these old spaces where people are just trying to do all of this like stupid shit in order to get to that next level, if you approach it from a place of presence, ease, service to the world, service to humanity, you will far outpace all these people that are trying to do like take all the little shortcuts and scam their way to that next level. And ultimately, the universe knows when you're operating from that place. It knows when you're trying to sidestep your path and completely embracing the path of your soul's expansion. The universe will know, and it will still push away the things that you desire. And this is why conscious souls will rise as the best leaders, because when you have your consciousness intact and you approach your entrepreneurial business and your products and services from this deeply, deeply soul-aligned place, you provide solutions to the world that are far greater, that are far more expansive and all-encompassing, and that is where most of your money is going to come from. Where do you think your money is going to come from? It's going to come from other people. So when you help other people get what they want, they will help you get what you want. And all of that revolves around you being resourceful. And let me give you some real sauce here. I mentioned before that I don't gatekeep. There are 3 main pain points that every single person has. 3 main pain points that every single person has, that you being resourceful, if you solve these problems for them, that will be where a lot of your best ideas in business are going to come from. So number 1 is time. Everybody is short on time. So if your product or service gives people back more of their time, then that is a valuable service that they would most likely take action on. For example, the reason that people, the reason that people fly on planes is because back in, 200 years ago, if you wanted to go from Florida to California, it would take 4 months, and like half your family would die in the wagon carousel, and it's like you're camping for 4 months just to get to California. Planes are so valuable because now in 3 hours, you get into an aluminum tube that flies at 500, 400 miles per hour at 30,000 feet in the air, and you get there in 3 hours, 4 hours. So planes are valuable because it saves us a ton of time, and we can travel the world and, go see the Eiffel Tower or something. I know how you guys like Eiffel Towers, right? So solve that time equation for people. If you're able to solve time and give people back more of their time so that they can enjoy more of their freedom, you have a valuable product or service. Number 2 is money. Everybody wants more money. And so if you're able to put more money back in people's pockets, if you're able to reduce the amount that they spend so like they're saving more, or ideally you help them make significantly more money, that's a valuable product or service. This is why people trade on the stock market. Number one, it saves time from them having to go work a job. If you have enough money to invest into the stock market, you can live off the dividends and you can cash out, that kind of thing. Well, it's like that's more valuable than having to go work for a living. Or said differently, like even with what I do with people, the reason my product, my service, working with me in the conscious economy is so valuable to people is because I help them to bend reality to make significantly more, which is why you see all these crazy breakthroughs that my clients are experiencing. It's very valuable to people. And so if you figure out a way to help people make more money, that is a tremendously valuable solution that you can solve for them. Number three is stress. And stress can come in multiple forms, meaning solving people's stress can come from multiple forms, right? Meaning that you give them more status, or you help them feel anything like that. Like even think about this, for example, with like cars. The reason people buy a Lamborghini, they want to buy a Lamborghini because it gives them more status. If they have more status, they feel less stressed, they feel less of like this existential pressure, they feel like they're cooler kind of thing. So they're willing to pay significantly more for the Lamborghini because it's like a status symbol rather than like a Toyota or a Honda Civic kind of thing. So in a sense, like Lamborghini is actually solving this stress thing for people, although it's like manufactured. This is manufactured, of course, because ultimately the car gets you from point A to point B, and the materialistic is, being a materialistic person is actually one of the quickest ways to interrupt you from that spiritual abundance kind of thing. But if you want that Lamborghini, by all means, go get that. Or said differently, this is why psychologists are a thing, because they help people to deal with the challenges of life, to be able to understand what's going on mentally, internally, so that they have more ease and flow with how they go about their reality. Ultimately, your product or service, whatever business you run, you get resourceful about solving these problems for people, and I guarantee you will never not have clients. I guarantee you'll be able to give yourself permission to charge the most amount of money, to charge premium prices for your service, because you are a premium person, you are a premium being in a world filled with people that are just trying to do a bunch of nonsense in order to get to that next level. That is how you win at the highest levels, even from like a business practical standpoint. Like I said, I am a man of pragmatism, and ultimately, spiritual knowledge and spiritual wisdom means nothing if you can't actually get resourceful with your reality. At that point, like, you being spiritual is just something that you're doing to look cool. You turn it into your personality. You turned it into this like ego validation thing of like, look at my funny hat and my cool robe. It's like, you're not actually solving problems for people. Ultimately, the highest dimension of spirituality is essentially helping people and helping the collective raise its conscious awareness so that we all live more prosperous, more generous, more peace-filled lives, and we recognize the genius within one another. Understand that. You know, even going back to like stress, movies solve stress for people. That's why people are willing to spend that time and spend their hard-earned dollars to go watch a movie with their family, because it gives them an experience where they can just relax and be present to the moment and enjoy an experience, portaling into a different dimension through the creation of another genius. And think about like movies. Even the worst movies, they had to raise millions of dollars to find a cast, to find directors and producers, extras, all the time it went to create the script for the movie. Then they had to film it, then they had to do post-production and edit it, and then they do marketing around the movie, and now you get to sit here and watch this 2-hour experience and say, this movie sucks. Like, even like, understand how much genius goes into every aspect of existence. And when you live like this, when you have this kind of frequency where everything is just like, you have this childlike sense of curiosity, and you follow your intuitions and you follow your path to the highest degree that you can, because you're very resourceful about how you approach your reality, you force reality into submission. Reality will bend into your favor, because what you see in the world is what you see in yourself. Your world is a mental projection of what you think and feel about it. So if you find yourself in an apathetic state where you're procrastinating, where you don't have the life force to see your path through and to follow wherever it goes, however it shows up, with all of the chaoticness, all of the uncertainty, and be still amidst that entire experience, that means you are in a low vibrational frequency. And if you are in a low vibrational frequency, you will not be able to bend reality to your will. And so ultimately, my intention with this video was just to simplify this entire conversation about what it means to actually be a winner, someone who wins at the highest levels, someone who gets what they want out of this dimension, because simply being spiritual is not enough. If you're not winning in the physical also, spirituality is like a vanity metric that you use to stand on your pedestal of spiritual enlightenment, and you're not actually doing anything profound and unique to share your gift with the world, to heal the world. The world needs healing now more than ever. And you as a conscious soul, if you don't give yourself permission to embrace that role, to embrace your highest levels of expansiveness because you're afraid of being seen, you're afraid of being judged, and you're afraid of getting your own, getting your bag, and afraid of people judging you for living with such creative expansiveness and such physical expansiveness as well to garner the resources, and then you're not able to exercise all possibilities, angles, and opportunities to create that reality for yourself, well, then just keep living a mediocre life. But you're not here to do that. And I pray that this helps you to even see that there is so much more to reality that meets the eye. And you don't need to go read a million different books. You just need to follow your path and stop taking life too seriously. Because that frequency, that of authenticity, of clarity, of truth, of playing with reality itself starts to unlock dimensions and paths that are more aligned for your soul. And what you'll find is what you want starts to want you. That's really what you want, to go from point A to point B. And let the expansiveness of reality be the natural byproduct of who you are, because that's really how this universe works. Reality corresponds to the energetic frequency that you vibrate and radiate out into the world. And when you understand these truths and apply them and embody them fully within your reality, everything starts to shift into your favor. That's pretty much it for me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.